Hi, this is group number 5 in Philippine popular culture. Our video is about the life of indigenous people here in the Philippines. They form at present non-dominant sector of society and determined to preserve, develop, and transmit to future generations their ancestral territories and their ethnic identities as the basis for continued existence as people in accordance with their own cultural pattern. So, let's start our topic, the general profile of indigenous people in the Philippines in 3, 2, 1.
The Philippines is composed of 7,107 islands and islets, spanning 1,854 kilometers from north to south. It stretches from China in the north to the Indonesian archipelago in south. It is an archipelago endowed with abundant natural resources, a rich history, diverse culture, and many ethnic-linguistic groups. The Philippines is the only country in Asia that has officially used the term indigenous peoples. Of more than 75 million Filipinos, about 12 to 15 million are indigenous people, or about 17 to 22% of total population in 1995. Indigenous people communities can be found in the interior of Luzon, Mindanao, and some islands of Visayas. They either withdrew to the hinterland in the face of the colonization, or they stood their ground and have maintained a close link to their ancestral past. These communities comprise a diverse collection of more than 40 ethno-linguistic groups, each with a distinct language and culture.
In 1970s, pressure upon indigenous communities' land base intensified as the national economy because increasingly foreign-dominated and export-oriented. Because they occupy areas rich in natural resources, indigenous communities have been besieged by a growing number of foreign and local corporations engaged in logging, plantation, and other export industries. It has forcibly relocated tens of thousands of indigenous peoples comprising entire indigenous communities in an attempt to counteract the growing resistance in the upland areas. These attack indigenous peoples are direct against their ancestral land. Depriving indigenous peoples and their ancestral land will mean the complete loss of their identity as distinct peoples. Thus, no less than the questions of survival is now all stare for the indigenous peoples in the Philippines. The links called at their ancestral past are being destroyed forever.
Indigenous people's view on land use, ownership, and language. Number 1, the conservation of their vernacular languages, traditional socio-economic institutions, and cultural and religious practices. Number 2, self-identification as distinct societies. Number 3, subsistence-oriented economies. Number 4, special relationship with their ancestral lands. What essentially distinguishes the indigenous people from the past of the population is their concept of land as granted and entrusted by one creator for everyone to garnish, cultivate, sustain, and live on.
The land is a central issue to indigenous people because it defines their very existence. Because of their similarities and differences of their concept and worldview of land and the conflict arising from it will be discussed extensively to show the significance and the land and its complexities to the indigenous people. Among indigenous peoples in the Philippines, there was a widespread belief that land helped us. It would not be removed from the community's use. The interaction of the ancestor with the land varied according to how they produce what they need for food. When they were nomadic and seafarer, they shifted their habitation from place to place and gathered whatever foods they could from the land and the waters when they settled into a life.
Major groups of indigenous people. According to Tunay na Alyansa ng Bayan, alay sa katutubo, tabak, there are more than 40 ethnic groups that comprises the Philippine indigenous population, and these can be classified into 6 groupings excluding the Islamic groups. These tribes may be roughly classified in 2 groupings. Number 1 is Mindanao Lumad. Lumad is a Visayan term that means born and grown in the place. Lumad people are composed of ethnic groups. They can be found in almost all provinces of Mindanao. And second is the Cordillera people. This is the indigenous population of Cordillera mountain range. They are collectively called Igorots, meaning mountain people.
Ta and Aita or Negrito. These short, dark-skinned, and kinky-haired people are considered the earliest inhabitants of the Philippines. Aside from having been perpetually pushed into the hinterlands of Central Luzon, mainly in the province of Zambales, Bataan, and Pampanga. Mangyan of Mindoro. This is a genetic name for the 6 ethno-linguistic groups spread over the mountains and foothills of Mindoro, an island southwest of Luzon. They are described as the first inhabitants of the island and until today. Number 6. Palawan Hill Tribes. These are the non-Muslim tribal people of Palawan Island located further coast of Mindoro. This is composed of ethnic groups, Muslim groups. These are the Muslim in Mindanao, composed of 14 groups. These would be new groups while others are simply subsets of larger tribes.
And that's the general profile of indigenous people in the Philippines.